Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us today on this webinar about Sanford Harmony. We are going to give folks another minute or so to get logged in, but in the meantime, we've got a little icebreaker question from one of the Sanford Harmony cards up on the screen, so feel free to type your answer into the chat box. All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Sanford Harmony webinar today. My name is Jacqueline Stedman, and I am the Program Manager of Learning and Development here at the National Office. Thanks to the folks who answered our Sanford Harmony icebreaker question. I'll just share out a few of the responses. We've got folks who are excited to learn a new SEL strategy, hoping the sun would come out, hoping to finish their to-do list or that their sick kiddo is feeling better, hoping to be productive, wanting to get unexpected funds via a cash app, lots of to-do list things for sure. So thanks everyone for sharing. We are very excited today to have Amy Griswold from Sanford Harmony joining the webinar, and she will give us an introduction to the curriculum, but first I want to tell you a little bit about social emotional learning and communities in schools, as well as our partnership with Sanford Harmony. So some of you all may have seen this graphic before. We also refer to it as our communities in schools theory of change. The idea is that the items on the left-hand side, the strong relationships that our site coordinators have with their students, help to develop social, emotional, and academic competencies, which then can lead to improved attendance, behavior, and coursework, which then lead to the outcomes on the right-hand side, reduced dropout rates, increased graduation rates, and increased college career readiness and civic engagement. These are all things that most of us intuitively know, but we like to share this slide to highlight, why we're talking about some of these things. And as we know, SEL, social and emotional learning, or SEED, as we also sometimes call it, is an important part of our work with the CIS model. And for that reason, we have partnered with Sanford Harmony to make available this free curriculum to the CIS network. And I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Carissa Nelson, for a minute to talk about the pilot that a few of our affiliates did over the past year.
Yep. Hi, everyone. My name is Carissa Nelson, Senior Associate of Program Investments and Partnerships here at CIS National Office. I'm so happy to be here today to talk about Sanford Harmony and just a little bit about the demonstration or the pilot of the curriculum that we helped to support for a few of our affiliates. And so at the end of last year, around September, we were provided a grant to pilot this curriculum with several affiliates. And so CIS of Brunswick County, CIS of Milledgeville, Baldwin County, CIS of Northwest North Carolina, CIS of Southern Nevada, CIS of Richmond, CIS of Dallas, and CIS of Houston, CIS of Central Ohio. So we had a few of these great affiliates that wanted to be a part of this pilot. So the project began on September 1st and ended on June 30th. So we are just now receiving some of their reports and getting some really good insight on how the site coordinators were able to meet the SEL needs of their students. And like Jacqueline mentioned before, we at the National Office and just CIS in general understand that the social emotional learning of our students is really important and really vital to their success. And so just with this demonstration alone, we were able to understand how the students were able to best use the activities, how site coordinators were able to learn lessons, challenges, or successes from the curriculum. And so if you happen to be a first-timer or first-time user of Sanford Harmony, feel free to reach out to any of these affiliates and ask them how their experience was throughout the demonstration, and hopefully you can get some best practices if you decide to or choose to use the Sanford Harmony curriculum. And so I'm going to hand the ball back over to Jacqueline, or actually, maybe I can move it myself. Next slide.
Thanks, Carissa. We're really excited to be able to share with you guys not only the information about the Sanford Harmony curriculum, but also some of the tools and resources that we now have available on CIS University that we've been able to develop as a result of the pilot program with the demonstration sites that Carissa was sharing about. And with that, I am going to turn it over to Amy Griswold, who is the Virtual Implementation Specialist at Sanford Harmony. And Amy, I'm going to hand you the ball and let you introduce yourself and take over.
All right, thank you. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right, great. I'll say good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you are. I'm still morning where I'm at. I'm in Arizona, so I know that you're in different locations, but I'm excited to be here and share with you about Harmony today. I just have a short presentation. Of course, I will take time to ask questions. So if you have any questions and I can answer them, please put them in the chat. But I did not see anyone's response to that question earlier because it was all privately sent. So if you want to make sure when you go to the chat box, send it to all participants or all attendees. You have a drop down that you can switch it to all, so then everyone can see your response, because I am going to have you use the chat box again later. So I really I want to make sure I can see them. So that would be great, and we'll go ahead and get started. So Harmony is a nice a program, of course, that is no cost for you to use, whether it's in schools or different organizations. But I want you to think about, I know that you're not necessarily teaching students like teachers would necessarily, but if you were to spend a day teaching students or teaching the children that you work with, if you were to teach them one trait, what would it be? And so I'm going to open the whiteboard up. So think about what trait would you want them to have? And I'm going to open the whiteboard. And if you look along the top, you'll see that there is a T for text, and you can type in what trait you would want the children that you're working with to have, that one. More than any other, what would be the one that you think would be the most important? You might want to change your color. You can see mine is at yellow. Yellow isn't very easy, so click on the T, change your color if you want, and put what trait would you want to teach children, if you could just teach them one trait. Okay, I see someone wrote integrity. Very good. I just added that to the whiteboard. You can put it in chat if you would like, or if you want to type. Thank you. Empathy. Great. Kindness. Compassion. I'll add compassion up there. Thank you, Margaret. Integrity, compassion, kindness, empathy. Anyone else have something that, and it can be something that's already on here, self-love. Thank you. I see an empathy in the chat box as well. Ooh, accountability. Yeah, I have some of that with one of my children that I'd like to, I'd like her to get that. Grit, nice. Thank you. Patience. Ooh, I had a patience times 2. It looks like 2 patience. Awesome. Anyone else? All right. So looking at these traits that you wrote in here, a lot of them go together. Of course, empathy and kindness and compassion, they all go together. The self-love and accountability, grit, those all really go together, as well as integrity. Ooh, confidence. I'll add that one in there as well. That can kind of go in with self-love. Resilience. Awesome. Great. These are all great traits. Of course, we want them to have all of these traits, right? We want them to be confident. We want them to be patient and kind and have empathy and compassion for others. We want them to have integrity, to do the right thing and make right choices. So that's where Sanford Harmony comes in. So what we want to do is really not just help students build positive relationships with each other, but learn to respect each other, feel like they're part of the community, so that confidence building, that they feel that they belong, but they're focused so they can problem solve, but they also are understanding and recognizing differences among their peers, so they can celebrate one another while being empathetic and understanding and compassionate for people who are different from them. So Sanford Harmony is brought, it's available to all schools and all programs across the country and actually internationally, thanks to Denny Sanford. He's the philanthropist that made this all possible so that everyone can use it at no cost. But he really wants to transform the lives of children every day and to help to build a healthier generation and a healthier society, because we can probably think of adults who don't necessarily collaborate well with each other. We can look at politics right there. There's a big example. So, you know, wanting to transform the lives starting with children and hoping to transform society that way, starting with them. So just a little bit of background information about Sanford Harmony. The original research and development of it was done here in Arizona at Arizona State University. However, the ongoing research that's being done is at Johns Hopkins University. And some of the results of the research, I'm just going to kind of give you just an overall, you can see that on the screen, but some of the biggest things that stood out as benefits from using Harmony with children was, of course, their empathy increase, which we said, I saw a couple of you say the empathy is what you want your the children to have, but also school enjoyment. So we have a lot of kids that don't like to go to school. They've showed that this increase, and as well as achievement. So students are achieving higher levels. Of course, it makes sense because they feel like they belong. They feel like they're part of a community. They're getting along with each other, and they're seeing respect and kindness and experiencing that, which is very different from what a lot of kids will experience. Of course, we know that kids they can be very unkind to each other. So Sanford Harmony really is focusing on increasing those areas, but they also saw it's not a bullying program, but they did see a huge decrease, not only in stereotyping, but also bullying. So even though it's not a bullying program, bullying and aggression definitely was decreased, and that's a huge benefit of using Harmony. We do have the ongoing research, like I said, from Johns Hopkins University. So we do have that research. So if you want to see that later, just let me know, and we can get that to you. So just some facts about Sanford Harmony. Now obviously it was developed originally mostly for schools. However, we have so many organizations that use Harmony. So we're in over 14,000 schools, and this needs to be updated because I know it's higher, but we're also with Boys and Girls Club, Beyond the Bell, LA's Best. You can see communities and schools right there. But it's a pre-K through 6th grade program, although I've actually worked with schools and organizations that use it above that. They even use it through 7th and 8th grade as well. But we're in lots of large communities. We just actually had a commitment with the New York City School District and to be in all of their elementary schools. So we're already in like 200 of their schools, and they have like 700 elementary schools. So they're going to go to all the elementaries in New York City. But what's also nice is we have resources available, all the tools, but our professional learning library, which is, you're going to see just a glimpse of it, but it's actually going to, I'm not going to show you very much because they're changing it, and it's going to be awesome, and it's not updated yet for me to show you. But the resources are available in English and in Spanish as well. So that's a nice resource for you. So just wanted to show you, here are where we've had our different partners across the country. So you can see here where we've had our partners, just to kind of show you where we're at, Sanford Harmony is at. That was our university partners. Now here's all of our schools and organizations and things. So you can see there's some big orange dots. That's where we have some really big implementations, some really big things going on as well. And then I want to just show you that we have these are where we have our trainers. So I'm in Arizona. You can see me right there. But we try to really be strategic about being across the country. So if people need support, whether it's not just virtual but on-site, we're trying to be there and support all of our schools and organizations. Obviously, there's some gaps in some of these, but we try to make sure that we're across the country to help support you. So why does Harmony work? Because I already talked about a little bit about that relationship building, how it's very intentional to develop relationships, not only one-on-one relationships, but with the class or with the group of children that you're working with, as well as with you. But it strengthens those learning communities so that they feel a part of a community as well. It's flexible. So like I said, it works in schools, but it works in after-school programs. It works in other programs as well, because you can do parts of it and maybe fit it in 5 minutes, or maybe you take 10 minutes. So it's very flexible. There's no set time of the day. There's no scripting that you have to follow. So very flexible to meet whatever your children's needs. And I actually worked with an organization a few weeks ago, and he was sharing he actually uses it up through 8th grade, and it's flexible, so he doesn't use it just with the grade levels that it's intended. So he's been able to just be flexible with it. All the resources are there for you, like I said, in English and Spanish. We have lessons and activities, stories, all of that. It's all aligned to the CASEL SEL competencies. And then, like I said, it's donor-based as well. So like I said, it's a CASEL Select program. You can see here that there's the 5 areas. So some of the things that you mentioned about self-management, being responsible, decision-making, those relationship skills, social awareness, self-awareness as well. Those are all within the SEL framework, and with the Castle, Harmony meets all of those things. We're going to look at a little bit more in depth of how we can do that. Of course, we don't want it just at school. We want it in communities as well. We want it in families. We want to be partners with families to do that as well. So I want to look at harmony in our classrooms and what that looks like. So in the classroom or outside of the classroom in different organizations, we have some basic strategies that we recommend doing on a daily basis. So the 3 things that we recommend doing every day is establishing and monitoring harmony goals. Of course, now establishing the harmony goals, you're not going to do that every day. That's going to be something you do at the very beginning. But monitoring them is going to be an ongoing thing that you're going to want to do, if possible, every single day. Usually happens in the meetup. Meetup and buddy up are everyday practices that we highly encourage to do every day in order to get the benefit and to get those traits that you're looking for that you all wrote on the whiteboard. We want to be very intentional in being able to get those skills. They're not going to obviously just be taught without having practice and working on different skills to help with that. So establishing the harmony goals. What are harmony goals? They really are those classroom agreements or an agreement that that helps things just work more smoothly. It helps it be welcoming and safe, space for everyone to feel that they're part of the community. So you can see here an example of some harmony goals is that you can ask them, what kind of place do you want this to be? What kind of school? What kind of place do we want? How do we want to be treated? So you can see here, have and be good friends, help others, care about each other, share ideas. We have there's no like magic list. We do recommend about 3 to 5, no more than 5 if possible, because it's not meant to be rules. It's meant to more be goals of how do we want to act, how do we want to treat people, how do we want to be treated. So they really are, it's really being proactive. So we want to establish what are the positive behaviors. We don't want to talk about don't do this, don't do that. We don't want to focus on the negative things. We want it to all be positive, be kind, be caring, be helpful, because we want to promote those skills that we want students to have. Of course, we want to respect kindness and fairness and respect all of those equity, but also those behaviors we want them to be interacting with each other, whether it's helping each other or working as a team, problem solving. But the last reason we want harmony goals is to provide that structure and stability. If you don't have the harmony goals, it's really hard to really have them commit to something or to go back and look at what are we doing, how are we doing, what does it look like, what's happening in our classroom. This is kind of more of that accountability. And I know one of you mentioned accountability. So the harmony goals really is to help with that accountability piece as well, not just individually, but as a group. So they can really monitor themselves, to keep them accountable to are they meeting these goals. So buddy up is what I really want to focus on now. Buddy up is exactly that. I mean, the children are in buddies. They're paired with a different buddy each week. So this is what is really important to do, is that they have an opportunity to be with a different buddy each week, and that this is the one thing that we definitely recommend doing every single day. Buddy up should happen every single day so that each week those buddies are able to either collaborate or communicate or talk with each other at least 5 times that week so they can get to know each other. The purpose really is not to help kids that already know each other get to know each other better. It's really to help children who are different from each other that maybe wouldn't necessarily be friends or choose to be together. Get them to learn more about each other, see what they have in common, but also appreciate their differences. Now, buddy up is flexible. It doesn't have to be a long time. It can be 5 minutes. It may be 10 minutes, just depending on how much time you have. I use the example a lot. I was a classroom teacher for many years. What I would say is some of those down times that we have. So like when we were lining up to go to lunch, or we were lining up to go to recess, or we had, those in-between transition times could be a great time to be like, okay, line up with your buddy, and I want you to talk about this, or ask your buddy this, or do this with your buddy while you're lining up to go. So just some of those down times, it can be very quick. It doesn't even have to be 5 minutes. It can be just some of those quick transition times, or if we have a little bit of extra time here or there right before it's time to go, or however that works. It's very flexible. So this is just some examples of some buddy charts that can be done. What is very helpful is to have it posted somewhere so that they can see for that week who their buddy is, especially that first day of the week, so they can see who their buddy is. But it's also really great to see who's gone. There's nothing wrong with having 3 as a buddy if we have an odd number, but you can be a buddy as well. So teachers and staff can be buddies as well. It doesn't have to just be the students. So if you need to fill in, you can do that. So why Buddy Up? I already kind of talked about why. The purpose is to bring those diverse peers together, to help them learn from each other, learn about each other, help them to build empathy and compassion, but also recognize those similarities that they have, those things that they have in common that they maybe would not have ever known. For example, they might find out they have the same favorite kind of ice cream, or maybe they find out they both have grandparents that live with them. So they'll be able to learn more about each other. Maybe they'll even, the goal is not necessarily to develop new friendships per se, but that might be a great benefit as well, as they learn what they have in common and they learn more about each other. It's really good, especially for those kids who are quiet. You might have some of the really shy kids that really have a hard time talking to others, but when they're one-on-one, it's much easier for them to share with each other, so they can develop some friendships and some relationships with those students. But we have activities that you can do with the buddies as well that will encourage that collaboration, being able to work together, being able to problem solve as well. And of course, the big one, empathy. Empathy is one of the biggest things, benefits of Buddy Up, which I know several of you mentioned empathy as being that trait that you would want for them to have. So this is an example of Buddy Up. So I would get my students together. I would have them buddy up. The one that you did at the very beginning, too, was an example of what you can use in Buddy Up. But what I want you to do in the chat box right now is to share not just what is your superpower. If you could have any superpower, what would it be? What superpower would you pick? Go ahead and share it in the chat box right now. Flying. Ooh, Shelly said she would like the superpower of flying. Ooh, I like that one. Ability to turn carbs into 0 calories. Love that.
Just a reminder to folks, make sure you send it to at least host, presenter, and panelist so that Amy can see the answers as well.
Yes, thank you. I'm seeing some coming in. Being able to teleport myself without having to travel. That kind of goes with the flying, except for you don't probably want to fly. Maybe you're afraid of heights or something. I would say my superpower I'd like to have is the power to heal. I'd like to be able to heal people. Time. I'm assuming creator of time means that you could give yourself more time to get everything done based on the conversations I heard at the very beginning. Reading minds. Very good. This kind of gives me a little glimpse into who you are, too. What would you pick your superpower to be? What kind of person you would be? So this is an example. It's called a quick connection card. These quick connection cards are meant to be used with Buddy Up. They can be used in other ways. Of course, we've had teachers that use them as writing prompts. We've had them used in small group discussions. I've actually pulled them out at the dinner table at my house to ask the kids, and they kind of look at me like I'm crazy. But then we also have people use them in staff meetings and things as well. So they can be used in many ways, but the real intention of them was to use them in Buddy Up so that the students are getting to know each other, getting to find out things about them, whether it's what is your superpower or what kind of ice cream is your favorite ice cream, who lives in your house, if you could go anywhere, where would it be? Lots of different questions. There are many questions that can be used with Buddy Up to help them get to know each other. So these are the quick connection cards. We have 3 different kinds of quick connection cards. The ones we were just looking at were the conversation. So we were looking just at the conversation cards here. And the conversation cards really, like I said, are to be used in Buddy Up. So these really are to be used with small groups or with the buddies as well. But the purpose really is to get to know each other. So we really want them to get to know each other. The questions help to do that, to give them the content for that. Now, the other types of quick connection cards we have can be used in different ways. So if we go all the way to the left, you'll see collaborations. Collaborations can be used in Buddy Up. They can also be used in Meetup, which we're going to learn about here in a minute. But collaboration really is that. It's requiring students to work together. They have to problem solve. It's an actual activity that they have to do together in order to solve a problem. So for example, or create something. For example, one of the collaborations that I think is a great one is work together with your buddy to create a paper airplane, but you each can only use one hand. So they have to figure out, you know, how to work together to create that paper airplane. So great thing there. The other one that we have is community builders. That's the other type of cards we have, and those are really intended to be in the meetup. We want them in the large group. It really is intentional in having a discussion or an activity for them to collaborate. It really focuses more on that teamwork aspect as well. There is some problem solving that goes along with that as well, but it really is meant to help build the community. So these cards are great. These are things that you can use every day. The conversations don't require any kind of preparation. You can just pull one out and ask it. Collaborations might require a little bit more planning, just in case, like I said, the paper airplane, you have to have a plane. Excuse me, you have to have a paper available for the plane. And then community builders, some of those require some things too, like a ball or things like that. None of them require anything big, anything that you probably don't already have. But they do require a little bit more looking ahead to see what you would need. Do you have any questions before I go to Meetup? Any questions about Buddy Up or the quick connection cards, or about Harmony goals? Anything that I've done so far? I know we have a Q&A session or time later, but I just wanted to stop for a second if you were thinking of anything. Feel free to put questions in the chat box as well, because we can look at those later if you have any questions. I think you guys are rock stars. I don't see any questions. Awesome. All right, let's look at Meetup. Meetup really is what it sounds like. You're meeting together as a group. And it is intended to be an everyday practice as well. It can be anywhere from 5 to 15 minutes. But what's really important to remember is that you're in a circle. So everyone's facing in, everyone feels like they're part of the community, but it's an opportunity for everyone to be greeted. It gives an opportunity for them to share and then respond to each other, as well as look at those Harmony goals, monitor. That's when we're going to monitor those goals. How are we doing on being kind? How are we doing on sharing? But also an opportunity to solve problems that maybe are happening, or engaging in those community building activities that I showed you, those quick connection cards. So it gives them an opportunity to do that as well. So there might be days that it's only 5 minutes, or maybe if you have more time, another day, 15 minutes might be what you would spend. So why do we want to do Meetup? We know Buddy Up is really good to help develop those relationships with each other, just to build empathy and learn about each other. This also helps to build those positive relationships, but it has a focus of those expectations with the Harmony goals. There's a structure there. The students know that they are going to either have a chance to share or hear their peers share, and then they're going to get a chance to ask follow-up questions. They're going to learn about each other, but they're also going to be able to help solve problems. So if they're having a problem with something, this is a time that they're going to work on it and focus it. The other thing is, of course, everyone belongs. Like I said, they're facing in. Everyone is going to feel like they belong. It's important to be a community, that everyone is in there. We want to build inclusion, that everyone's included. If we're doing an activity, everyone's involved, the whole community. We're working together as a team. But some of the things that it enhances really focuses on communication, because students are going to be sharing or solving problems with the Harmony goals, and they're also doing the collaboration where they're doing the activities as well. And again, it fosters the empathy and understanding as they're learning more about each other, learning about problems that are happening that maybe they didn't know was a problem. And how can we solve this? What can we do differently next time? So Meetup and Buddy Up really help to build that student voice. So really we want student voice to be we want students to feel like they have a voice. We want them to build their confidence, obviously, and build compassion for others. We also want to promote that empathy, but also equity, that all students get a chance to share, all students get a chance to be participating. Everyone's a part of this community. We also get to change and look at different perspectives, so we can see, especially through Buddy Up, but also in Meetup, what other people are going through and what experiences they're having. Communication is enhanced in all of them, whether it's one-on-one in the Buddy Up or Meetup as they're working in a community, and they're sharing and they're responding as well. So people are getting to share their feelings, getting to share things that are happening, that are going on with them. Another thing I wanted to mention with Meetup, and I didn't see that in here. I thought I must have forgot and took it out. But there are 4 main steps for Meetup. So before I go into the Harmony Unit review, I really want to talk about the 4 main steps. They're very quick steps, but the first step I kind of mentioned already. The first step is a greeting. So every student is greeted. So you could go around, they can give a high five and say good morning, or they could say hello, and they're using the name. So everyone is greeted as they go around the circle, kind of like a domino effect. The second step is sharing. So you will pick, and this is a great thing to plan ahead of time. You will pick 2 or 3 to share ahead of time, and every day there will be 2 or 3 people that share, and it can be anything. They can share something that's happening in their life, something they're proud of, or something that they're excited about doing. And then after they share, it gives an opportunity for a couple people to ask follow-up questions as well. So there's that communication and responding, listening, respecting others while they're talking. The third step is the Harmony goals, monitoring those goals. So if we see that there's a problem happening, what can we do to solve it? For example, I had no one to play with at recess. So what can we do to solve that problem? And then the last step is just a quick connection on the way out. It could be a wave, it can be a high five again. It's very flexible. There's no right or wrong, but it's just making sure everyone gets a greeting in and everyone gets a quick connection with someone else on the way out. All right. If there's any questions about Meetup, go ahead and put that in the chat box. But I want to talk about our other component that we have. We have lessons and stories and activities outside of the Buddy Up and the Meetup, that they're actually lesson plan books. These are things that are not done as frequently because they do take more time, but these things can also develop certain skills. So if you wanted, like you said, your trait was empathy, there are lessons that are specifically on empathy. So you could do those lessons that focus on empathy. There's some that focus on being responsible or communicating well with others, or being able to self-monitor their own feelings. So there's lots of different activities in there. So the things that you're going to have, your tools that you're going to have, these are the main things you're going to need every single day. Meet Up and Buddy Up. You're going to want that, but you're going to have that book. That's something that you use on an everyday basis, and the quick connection cards. So those are the things you're going to want to use every single day when you do Meet Up and Buddy Up. You may not use this book later in the year, might just need it at the very beginning to get started, but after you feel comfortable, you may not need the book necessarily anymore, but just have some good prompts and things that you can ask students in there as well. Now, these are the toolkits. So this is where you'll have the lesson and activities books that go along. You already see the quick connection cards there, the Meet Up Buddy Up book, but the lessons and activities is the extra component. That is a great component. I'm not saying it's not good, but it is extra in the fact that it's not an everyday practice. It's not something that we encourage because there's just not enough time for that. All of these resources are also available on our online professional learning library, so you don't have to, if you don't have the book or you you want a cleaner copy, if you wanted to print something out or copy something, the online professional learning library has all of it, and then it's very easy to just print out. But the 5 main focus themes in each lesson activity book, whether it's the pre-K or the 6th grade, are these 5 themes. So you can see the first is diversity and inclusion, then empathy and critical thinking, communication, problem solving, and peer relationships. So there are lessons. And yes, the lessons are, yes, they are intended to be for all students, not just, we do have some, I shouldn't say that. There are some schools that use it for a different purpose, that they use it for just certain groups of students, but the main goal is to be used for all students.
Amy, can I jump in there too?
Yes.
I think that some of our affiliates who use Sanford in the Sanford Harmony in the pilot program also used it at the Tier 2 level with some of their small groups. So that could be an option as well for some of our CIS folks.
Yeah, and like I said, it's flexible. There's no like right or wrong. The majority of people that use it do use it as the Tier 1, but it can be used throughout. So there's that flexibility piece. Pre-K through second grade, the lessons really focus on Z. There's storybooks that go along with each unit, and the activities really focus on Z. This character here, our little Z character. So there are really more stories than anything else, whereas through sixth grade really is more games and role-playing to be able to focus on some of the things that you're seeing more, especially in grades 3 through 6 with the peer pressure and bullying and all of those things as well. We also have a mobile app that can be used that have those quick connection cards. It has the storybooks on there as well, and especially if for some reason, you know, they're only on iPad or Android, they're not on iPhones, or not on even on Chromebooks or anything at this point, because you can get on the website to see it. But at home, if they have access and they want to have this at home, it's a great thing. Like I said, I use it with my kids at the dinner table sometimes for discussion, so it can be used beyond as well. It's a free app for them to use or for you to use. But I wanted to talk about the professional learning library. Just to let you know, there are so many resources there. Not only are all the KIT tools there, so we have the lessons and activities, the quick connection cards. We also have videos. So if you wanted to see how a lesson looked in action, they're actually split into grade levels. So you can actually see a first grade lesson and what that looked like in the classroom. We also have other resources and tools. So for Meetup, for example, we have a tool in our online professional learning library that's a Meetup planning tool. So you can actually fill it out for the week. What is your greeting going to be? Who's going to share? And then, you know, what quick connection are you going to use on the way out? So if some of you like to plan and more organized like that, you can use that as well. I don't think we have enough time to go in and look at that. Jacqueline, do we have enough time to briefly look, or should we save that for them to explore on their own?
We've got about 20 minutes left. We want maybe 5 to 7 to walk through some resources and a few minutes for questions. So depending on how much more you have.
No, this is really the ending.
Okay.
Because, yeah, so I wanted to just make sure I don't want to like go over, because I know time is very precious.
Yeah, we could probably take a quick look then.
Okay, so I want to go ahead and let you see what this looks like. So we'll see how I remember to switch over to show this. So hopefully, there we go. Is everyone seeing the online PLL?
Yes, we can see it.
All right, awesome, very good. All right, so I'm going to log in. What I would encourage you to do is to actually create your own account. It's free, of course, but then you have your own username and password. Mine's remembering me. I'm going to click it just to make sure it continues to remember me. And then you will actually then get emails. You'll get updates with things that are happening, whether it's webinars that are happening or new tools or new resources. Like I said, this is what it looks like right now. It's changing. So it's actually going to be like super amazing, and this is like nothing compared to what it's going to be. But I just want to show you what's here. So when it changes and it looks even better, you'll know though that all the tools are still going to be there. They're just going to be in an easier to access format and just prettier and look nicer. So what we do have is we have different resources for online training. Here are all of our kits. So I just wanted to click on this just a minute so you could see what that looks like. So I clicked on first and second grade, and all of the things that you would find in your actual kit would be here. So from the letters to the Meetup Buddy Up book, the storybooks that go along with Z, because through second grade they have the storybooks. And then I can even go to the lesson plan and activity book. We have music that you can actually download, these MP3s that you can use there, especially with pre-K through second grade. And then all of the resources that are in Spanish as well. So everything we just saw there, the quick connection cards too. I don't like this as well, but you can access them digitally, but you see it's like 388 pages there, so not quite as convenient. The training resource library is great for different resources that are there, so I'll just click on it really quick. In just a second, maybe there we go. It gives some opportunities here. So there's the lesson plan books again, so another place to find them. But if I keep scrolling, I thought that it was here. Nope. The training resource library, you can go in. I'm going to click in there, and then you're going to see Here we go. You are going to see 25 ways to say hello. So for your meetup, if you want to change it every day, you have 25 different languages that you can say hello. So you can say hola for one day in Spanish, or you can say ni hao for Chinese. So you can highlight different languages. We have a character Z that you can download to have, whether it's as their buddy up character or whatever, however you want to use that. There's the meetup. The meetup planning sheet is right here as well that you can download. So that is really a helpful tool, like I said, to fill out who's going to share, especially planning who's going to share to make sure everyone gets a turn. They might get a turn just once every 2 weeks or something like that, but just so that it's fair, right, because everything needs to be fair. The other thing is our video teaching module. So I'm going to training and support. I'm going to click on video teaching modules, and this is like I was just talking about. Our video teaching modules really, there's some overview of them, but then if I go to grade levels, it'll show me different lessons in different units, so I can see what it actually looks like in the classroom. So it might give you some ideas. If you search on YouTube, also for Sanford Harmony, you'll see things there as well. And I believe when you click on these, they will actually go to YouTube. So if you have YouTube block, it might be you might have trouble getting to watch some of these. But this is what the online PLL looks like. Like I said, it is changing. The resources are going to still be there. It's just going to be formatted differently, and it's actually going to be a lot easier for you to access. So you'll actually hopefully want to use it. All right, what questions do you have? What questions do you have about Harmony? I know we're going to do other, is there anything really burning question that you have about Meetup or about Buddy Up or about the online PLL? I see a question about a copy of this presentation, I'm guessing.
Yep, we can send out, we will post the recording for this presentation, and we can send out a copy as well. We also had a question earlier on about, can we find out more about the areas that you already have a strong presence if it overlaps in communities that we are also serving?
I know we have a strong presence in Houston. I'm trying to think of some of the communities. New York City, Houston, LA. I'm trying to think of some others. I'm just trying, those are like some big ones that I'm thinking. We're in a lot of different other communities too, but those are some of the big ones that are sticking out in my head. You can let me know some of the communities that you're serving, and I can find out if they already have a strong presence there or not, because I don't have all of them like off the top of my head. Now, approximate length of training time for a first-year teacher. What we usually recommend, well, it just depends. If it's going to be, you know, if it can be anywhere from really 90 minutes is a good amount, 90 minutes to 3 hours. It really just depends. So we have some places and schools that will have 3 hours for training, some will have 2. I would say 90 minutes should be the minimum for a training for teachers to use this with their students. As far as Meetup and Buddy Up, obviously if it's used in small groups, you know, it can be adjusted to work, you know, weekly or whatever, but it really was intended to be daily practice. In order to get students to really understand and learn from each other and to build empathy, having that everyday interaction was the intention. Now, like I said, it's flexible, so we have schools and organizations that are using it a little bit different as well. Now, the process of getting started with Harmony, Jacqueline, do you want to add anything to that about, do you have a specific process that you would like them with getting started with Harmony?
Yeah, actually, that sounds like a great transition to, we were going to share some tools and resources that we have available on our CIS University as well. So I'm going to transition over, and Carissa and I will walk you guys through some of those, and then we'll take a few more questions at the end. So.
All right, sounds good. Thank you.
Sure. All righty, so I am going to share my screen so I can walk you guys through to show you where some of the resources that we have on CAS University. So as a result of our partnership with Sanford Harmony and our work with the demonstration affiliates, we've put together a number of resources for both site coordinators and program managers or trainers who might want to facilitate a Sanford Harmony training with their staff that are all available on CAS University. So I'm going to walk you through where those live. First, for the site coordinator resources, once you're on the home page of CAS University, you go to the catalog and go to integrated student supports. That is where all of the site coordinator resources live. Once there, you can click on continued education, click find out more, and scroll down. When you go on the e-learning courses tab, you'll see we have 2 Sanford Harmony implementation trainings, Part 1 and Part 2. These are recorded webinars that are a slightly longer version of this training that we did last fall for our demonstration affiliates. So those are available for you to watch. They're recorded, so you can watch them on your own time whenever it's convenient. If you click over to the Activities tab, we have 3 more Sanford Harmony resources available. One of them is the CASEL Alignment Guide, and if you click More Info, it would allow you to enroll and see the guide yourself, but I've already got them open up here just to speed along the loading. So this is a resource that we have from Sanford Harmony that shows the CASEL 5 category areas and how the Sanford Harmony objectives from the lessons align with those areas. So if there's something specific that you wanted to work on with students, this might be helpful in figuring out what part of the Sanford Harmony curriculum would be good to work on with that. It's also broken down by grade level, which can be helpful as well. The next resource that we have is the Sanford Harmony Implementation Guide for Site Coordinators. This is a resource that we put together. It's a quick 3-pager. It has a brief overview of Sanford Harmony with communities and schools, the theory of change that we walked through earlier, a list of resources, some of which Amy mentioned earlier, and where you can find them. There's also a link to order the kits right here on this one. And then the other 2 things that I wanted to point out on this document is that we've set it up so that site coordinators can track Sanford Harmony in SYSDEM. There's quick instructions here on how to do that. But essentially, on the support entry form, you choose life social skills as the category, social emotional learning, and then you should be able to select Sanford Harmony as the activity. And then the final thing on this resource that I wanted to point out that I think will be really helpful for you guys, we took some advice from the different demonstration site affiliates, and we have put it here together for you guys. So just some quick tips on things that they found helpful when they were implementing this curriculum at their schools. So hopefully some of that might be helpful for site coordinators across the network as well. And then the final resource available for site coordinators is the Sanford Harmony Sample Lesson Plan. This one was created and shared with us by a site coordinator from CIS of Milledgeville in Georgia, and she made this sample weekly lesson plan for her pre-K students. So it walks through week by week Sanford Harmony units, additional resources and games that she put together. It's really extensive and it's really awesome, so we wanted to make that available for you all as well. She's got it all the way through 12 weeks. We thought this was a great example, one, for you to feel free to use if you have pre-K students as well, but also just to give you ideas. You know, if you're working with slightly older students, the Sanford Harmony curriculum is available K through 12, so you might be able to model after this and make something for your own students. And then we also have facilitator materials available for the Sanford Harmony curriculum, so as I'm clicking to those, Carissa is going to talk about them. So I'm navigating here in the catalog to facilitator materials.
Thanks, Jacqueline.
You're welcome.
So essentially these tools that I'm about to explain are for our program managers and trainers. So essentially that means that these are the folks that are actually training on the Sanford Harmony curriculum to their staff. So if you want to go ahead and click open.
For which one?
Sorry, Sanford. No, we're actually going to go to the Sanford Harmony Facilitators Guide first.
This one. I've got it up here.
Awesome. Thanks. So this guide is essentially a another 3-pager for our program managers and trainers that includes best practices and a few helpful tips to help trainers and facilitators get used to starting the curriculum at their site level. So we talk a little bit about how to order their Harmony kits and how to go through that process, just some best practices to prepare your staff on what to actually do prior to adopting Sanford Harmony. Do you want to scroll down a little bit, Jacqueline? Thanks. And then we have some really direct links that take you right to the Sanford Harmony resources, as Amy was explaining earlier. And then additionally, we have a few helpful tips that were given to us by our demonstration sites. So you can see that on the second page. And then finally, on the third page, sorry, Jacqueline, I think you're delayed on your end, on my end, but it's no worries. And so the training resources as to like what tools you should use or you could use. And I want to draw your attention to the Sanford Harmony Internal Facilitator Guide and the PowerPoint template. These links can be found on the guide, but they're also available on CISU. And I think that this will be really essential for program managers and trainers that have training built into your onboarding or essentially, times that you'll be actually training your site coordinators. So we have a 90 to 120 minute Sanford Harmony PowerPoint template that was provided to us by Sanford Harmony. And this template is going to be really helpful. It's editable, meaning that you can go ahead and just edit the PowerPoint to meet the needs of your learners. It includes facilitators' notes, module objectives, activity instructions, and a really in-depth slide deck that you can modify to meet the needs of the folks that you'll be training. And so essentially you can find everything on CISU. But feel free to go ahead and take a look at your program. Excuse me, you can take a look at the 3-pager that I just mentioned, and you can get to all of the links in that way.
Awesome, thanks, Carissa. I think there was someone who asked a question about whether they could get a copy of this presentation. That slide deck that Carissa was describing that has the notes within it is actually a slightly longer version, so that might be more helpful for you so that you can run through Sanford Harmony training with your staff. We will also be posting a recording of this webinar on CISU probably within the next week or two. It takes a little bit to download and process on our end, but we'll make sure that that's available as well. So with that, I am going to switch back to the deck, and we will take additional questions either for me and Carissa about the tools or for Amy about Sanford Harmony. So hopefully that was helpful to answer the question about what is the process of getting started. I would recommend exploring all the resources that we just shared, as well as ordering the kits through the links that were on the guides in CISU. I'm seeing a question here. Just want to make sure we covered, if this program is used in small groups with CIS, will it work on a weekly basis, or is it intended for full classroom use daily? I think, as Amy mentioned, it's pretty flexible, so it can be used in a classroom every day, but it also, we definitely had CIS staff who used it in their weekly small groups, and that worked well as well. I see we're now over time, so I want to thank everyone for attending today. If you have any more questions, Amy, Carissa, and I can hang on for another minute to answer them, but I hope that you all enjoy using the Sanford Harmony curriculum, and thanks for attending the webinar today. Alrighty, it looks like we do not have any more questions coming in, just a few thank yous. Glad to see folks are headed to CISU for the resources. So with that, I am going to end today's webinar. Thanks everyone for joining.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks so much, Amy.
Have a great day, everyone.
Bye.